Welcome, Capricorn, to the sidereal Aquarius new moon occurring tonight, a few short hours from now, March 13th. And it's a lunar cycle that will last until April 12th. Neptune and Mercury will be also there, along with the sun and the moon, in the sign of Aquarius. This is like an inception, right? A conception of the sun and the moon. It conceives a new cycle, a new creative beginning in the sign of Aquarius. And this one kind of asks us to end the war within in order to end the external war. There seems to be a sense of somehow aligning the smaller local self with the larger universal self, or perhaps even doing that with humanity and in larger groups. I always tend to think of the relationship to the soul as the primary relationship, though, and so that's how I usually see that kind of thing. It's all under Saturn's influence in your second house, so your life goals and your grounding might be important, might be something that this reading would have an influence about, or have something to say about. It could be, typical second house stuff, income and possessions, expenses, spending, and the influence of Venus is not far off here either. So it's very likely that assets or love relationships may come into play with this one. It will mean to you what it means to you, but the Golden Thread Tarot will give us a pair of cards, a dichotomy to play with as we go forward into your Celtic cross reading, and ask ourselves what the opportunity for personal alignment in this lunar cycle will be for the Capricornians. Oh, Pisces got this too, and I got this morning in my personal reading. This is the Five of Wands. This is the kerfuffle card, the internal struggle as I'm actually interpreting it in this new moon. I see this as a boundary setting little tussle, right? Like when you're babysitting a toddler or taking care of a puppy and they're checking out all the boundaries and they're doing things that they're not sure they're supposed to be doing, and they're looking to see how you're going to respond to it, but always, always, always trying to get your attention, right? And it's definitely something that's absorbing. It could be a little bit of a spat within a group that you're dealing with right now, or it could have anything to do with those assets and things that we talked about before. But it's a little bit of a spat, not a real fight, not a serious one. And then the other card that we have to play with here is the Six of Cups. Wow, I'm glad I saw that, because I always read this as the Two of Cups before. This Six of Cups is adorable, and there's bunnies, but it's also about nostalgia and times in the past when we felt a certain kind of hominess or love or some sort of a longing for things as they used to be. And maybe that's a fight that's going on inside you right now, is the struggle to come into alignment with who you are at this moment compared to who you were in the past, and looking longingly back at familiar happy memories, healing, and thinking about returning home. Maybe you're fighting those tendencies, the longing to just go back. You know, you might just want to revert. Maybe you can't, you know, or maybe you are fighting the urge to go back to something that doesn't serve you any longer. We all have to fight that at times too. I'm looking for a signifier for your Celtic cross reading. It's a very informative card spread, and I use it most often, so it's my favorite spread, I'd go ahead and say. And the signifier, or the card that will represent you in this reading, is the Page of Pentacles. Now, this is a young energy, and the Page of Pentacles is someone who is studying or looking toward or journeying with an ideal. Look at the way he's holding that pentacle, holding it up as if to put it on a pedestal. You know, it's ambition, it's desire, it's diligence, and it's focus. He's out there in a beautiful landscape, and he's not really noticing anything else around him. He's got a very riveted gaze. Perhaps you are fixed upon something that has got you either fighting your sense of nostalgia, your sense of homecoming, or you're hoping to move on from a situation like that. You are covered by the Nine of Wands. And this is the Raggedy card. No, it's the card where this person has valiantly and valorously maintained his resilience, like his grit, and he is going to continue to hold the line, even though you can see the obvious signs of a struggle here, and the lineup of wands that are there showing us how you know, this person has prepared an edifice that he's willing to defend. So you definitely have an ambition, a desire, an ideal, or a goal, and you are willing to defend it. Information is coming in, and this is the Wands card directly preceding the card that covers you. The Eight of Wands is about rapid action and quick decisions. It's about movement. So it could be that, you know, you're willing to hold the line, but there is an elaboration on this story. There's more to be told here. There is the passage of time. The things happen, you know, and we have to move along with them. No matter what kind of an ambition or ideal we're trying to hold or preserve, time marches on. You are crowned by the Knight of Pentacles, the slowest moving knight in the deck. However, the work gets done. This is the Knight of Duty, and this is the Knight of Responsibility. I like this card. I like draft horses. That's part of the reason. But the other reason is this is knowing that you have responsibilities and meeting them. Doesn't mean you have to go about it in a staid, stodgy, you know, culturally respected way. Sometimes your responsibilities are just to yourself, to your ideal, to the edifice that you have defended. And the object being held up in both of these cards is the same. I have a feeling that this is about that same ideal, and it's about the efficiency, the hard work, the responsibility, and the duty that it will take to complete whatever action this ideal requires. Oh yeah. There's a lot of determined energy in this reading already, Capricorn. Not surprising, you are the sea goat. The Capricorns like the structure, right? They're all about creating the inner structure that supports the outward harmony. And I think, honestly, that's what this lunar cycle is about more so than anything, is creating and maintaining the inner structure that is going to support the way we want to move forward. Now, this Queen of Swords represents complexity and perceptiveness. She's very clear, but she might be a bit introverted. She might even at times be a bit cutting and cruel, but once again, she's going to defend that ideal and do what she thinks is correct. There's uncertainty in your past. There's a sense that the pentacle itself, the actual ideal, or the security, the material world object has to, or has had to, because this Two of Pentacles is in your past position, it has had to, you've needed to balance some things and priorities and adapt a lot to whatever these changes represented by the wands have been. You know, the wands in this reading are representing the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, the difficulties that you've had to come through, and you've been like a juggler in a circus. You've been trying to keep this ideal held aloft in your past. In your future, you have the compassionate Queen. She holds a different ideal. And perhaps even, you start out with an ideal that is about practical concerns, security, the material world, and actual physical things. And then you end up with an ideal that is more emotional and creative and intuitional. And I think that is actually one of the great values of being on the material plane, is that you have access to your soul through your emotions, and the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune are the things that give you that access. You can't get that anywhere else in the universe. I just don't think you can. Being in a human body represents an amazing opportunity, and during this lunar cycle, the opportunity is for personal alignment. It looks like your personal alignment is moving from the material to the emotional, and perhaps from the emotional to the spiritual. But that's not a story for the Rider WAITE to tell. Ooh, partnership card. So it looks like you and your soul come into alignment emotionally. Could be you and your soul. It could also be you and another person. Could be any kind of unity, actually. Any kind of partnership or connection. This is the card that represents you as you are in this moment. This may have had to do with the past and where you're headed and how you're crowned and where your foundation is. But this is about you in the present moment. You are surrounded by Knights of Swords, or the Knight of Swords. This is the most impulsive knight in the deck. I always just look at the horse on this guy to see, what he's just kind of flying out of the gate. He's very much in thought and action, impulsiveness. And he's like this guy a little bit defending, though, instead of defending real world, material, natural things, he's defending ideals and defending his beliefs, which aren't even real world as ideals are. Beliefs are literally thoughts. So he's, there may be a lot of people in your immediate environment that have thoughts that are different than your ideal, that want to see you stay in a different place than a spiritual or emotionally aligned place. And that may be what you come from. That may be family. It could be a kind of difficulty for you that you need to overcome. I'm just getting that sense, especially because if you recall back here, the thing that was the other side of your wands, the other side of what you've been defending, was a nostalgic cup, or a cup from home or a long ways ago. And it could be that, you're surrounded by beliefs and thoughts now that don't jibe with that, or at least that's what I'm feeling. I wonder what you think of it. Ooh, the Hanged Man in your Hopes and Fear card. Now, in your hopes and fears, you might be hoping to and also afraid of seeing this whole situation differently. It's kind of a prayer for me. How do you want me to show me a different way to see this kind of thing? And that's the show me a different way to see this card. The Hanged Man is the first major arcana card that we have in this reading. And that makes me think that it's a very important omen of change. And the change is mental. These very significant swords cards representing air, and the Hanged Man's sacrifice. He's hung by these wands, but there's a wisdom that comes through his being hung this way, his release. This is a card about martyrdom, essentially, but it's also about waiting. And Odin, in Norse mythology, hung this way in order to decipher the runes for his people. I just keep getting the sense that this is very much about a spiritual development for you, Capricorn. It's not your way, right? It's not the way most Capricorns operate. However, this could change. And this card says you both hope and fear whatever the change is, whatever this message, movement could be. Lovely. You somehow get to keep your ideal in this. Now, kind of an earthy Capricornian card, right? The Queen of Pentacles is all about earthly attainment, security, the material world. She's nature. She's certainly in nature, that's for sure. But she's practical, and she's got a lot of creature comforts and financial security there. So if those things are part of your ideal, and you're thinking that moving into a more spiritual way of being will somehow disturb that or eliminate that, it looks like you get to have the best of both worlds. However, don't discount, be disappointed in, or turn away from your emotions. The Four of Cups here is a foundational card, and kind of how you proceed is how you begin. And if there's apathy, disconnectedness in your emotional representation, see how these don't face each other? I mean, they're very different. The way you're thinking and the way you're feeling right now seem to be at odds. And there are some beliefs that need to be altered, flipped, changed. And that represents a bit of work, right? A bit of sacrifice. Don't martyr yourself to it. Being emotional is not a failure. Learning how to integrate will bring you into a new form of prosperity. Quite possibly one that you hadn't anticipated in your previous belief system. And that may be the case here. You may be having to give up a belief system that you're a bit nostalgic about, that you sort of have an old boundary around, a nostalgic boundary. But, you know, to be human is to grow and to change. And we're human. There's nothing we can do about that at this moment. And there's nothing we would want to, as we will see. I'm pulling you a medicine card from my oldest, most favorite deck. And the creature that represents you, at least in part of your dualist form, is the dog, a loyal creature. You know, we got really, really lucky with both dogs and horses. Best companions anybody could ever hope to have, dogs are. I think they are, well, they're definitely my favorites, and anybody who knows me knows that. But they're also about clear duty and service. It's not wishy-washy for them. It's not something that they have to go and think about for a long period of time. It comes to them naturally. It's instinctual. It's emotional. It's intuitive. Could be a great lesson to you. You might want to be around dogs a little bit more this week. Dogs are great teachers, and the wolf is the greatest teacher of all. So my favorite thing to end with, Capricorn. I really love this card. I love both of them, actually. The wolf card is about the inner teacher, the love of truth, of knowledge, of those feet on the ground that tell the story of the earth. And there's an earth story here, an ideal that wants to come to fruition. Your emotions will be a part of it. You may have to leave some of the beliefs behind. Thank you so much, Capricorn, for your attention and your time. I really do appreciate all your likes, shares, subscribes, and do please email me if you would like me to do a personal reading for you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing this gorgeous reading with me. And until the next new moon, I'm wishing you all the richness that this seems to represent. Thank you, Capricorn.